In today's presentation, I am going to talk about ADHD and learning disabilities. First, let's take a look into the definition of ADHD. ADHD, or Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, is marked by an ongoing pattern of inattention and/or hyperactivity impulsivity that interferes with functioning or development. With approximately 6.8% of the worldwide population have symptomatic ADHD, which includes individuals diagnosed with ADHD regardless of the onset age. There are three types of ADHD. The first one is the predominantly inattentive presentation, which this type of ADHD is characterized predominantly by inattention and distractibility without hyperactivity. It is hard for the individual to organize or finish a task, to pay attention to details, or to follow instructions or conversations. The person is easily distracted or forgets details of daily routines easily. The next type is the predominantly hyperactive impulsive presentation. This is the least common type of ADHD. It is characterized by impulsive and hyperactive behaviors without inattention and distractibility. Where the person may fidget and talks a lot, it is hard for them to sit still for long. Smaller children may run, jump, or climb constantly. The individual of this type of ADHD constantly feel restless and has trouble with impulsivity. Someone who is impulsive may interrupt others a lot, grab things from people, or speak at inappropriate times. It is hard for the person to wait their turn or listen to directions. A person with impulsiveness may have more accidents and injuries than others. And lastly, the combined presentation of both types. This is the most common type of ADHD. It is characterized by impulsive and hyperactive behaviors as well as inattention and distractibility. The following are the most common symptoms of ADHD. However, each child may experience symptoms differently. The three categories of symptoms of ADHD include the following: inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. The first one is inattention. A person may have difficulty staying on task, sustaining focus, and staying organized, and these problems are not due to defiance or lack of comprehension. It includes short attention span for each, difficulty listening to others, difficulty attending to details, easily distracted, forgetfulness, poor organizational skills for each, and poor study skills for each. A hyperactivity symptoms may include a person that may seem to move about constantly, including in situations when it is not appropriate or excessively fidgets, taps, or talks. In adults, hyperactivity may mean extreme restlessness or talking too much. They may also have difficulty engaging in quiet activities, loses or forgets things repeatedly and often, and inability to stay on task, which they shift from one task to another without bringing any completion. And lastly, impulsivity. A person who may act without thinking or have difficulty with self-control. Impulsivity could also include a desire for immediate rewards or the inability to delay gratification. They also often interrupt others, tends to blurt out answers instead of waiting to be called upon, and also takes frequent risks and often without thinking before acting. ADHD is one of the most researched areas in child and adolescent mental health. However, the precise cause of the disorder is still unknown. Available evidence suggests that ADHD is genetic. It is a brain-based biological disorder. Low levels of dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter type of brain chemical, are found in children with ADHD. Brain imaging studies with using PET scanners show that a brain metabolism in children with ADHD is lower in the areas of the brain that control attention, social judgment, and movement. However, there are also other possible causes include brain injury, exposure to environmental risk, alcohol and tobacco use during pregnancy, premature delivery, and low birth weight. A learning disability are a group of neurobiological disorders characterized by difficulty of learning, sorting, and storing information. These are the umbrella terms for a wide variety of learning problems. A learning disability is not a problem with intelligence or motivation, and kids with learning disabilities aren't lazy or dumb. In fact, Most are just as smart as everyone else. Their brains are simply wired differently, and this difference affects how they receive and process information. Simply put, children and adults with learning disabilities see, hear, and understand things differently. This can lead to trouble with learning new information and skills and putting them to use. The most common types of learning disabilities involve problems with reading, writing, math, reasoning, listening, and speaking. While every kid has a trouble with their homework from time to time, if a certain area of learning is consistently problematic, it might indicate a learning disorder. There are various types of learning disabilities, and that include dyslexia, dyscalculia, dysgraphia, and dysphasia. Dyslexia is a difficulty with reading, includes reading, writing, spelling, and speaking of the language. Dyscalculia is difficulty with math, include doing math problems, understanding time, and using money. Dysgraphia is difficulty with writing, with which they have problems with handwriting, spelling, and organizing ideas. And dysphasia is difficulty with fine motor skills such as hand-eye coordination, balance, and manual dexterity. In addition to the types of learning disabilities, we also have dysphasia or aphasia, which is difficulty with language, understanding of spoken language, reading and comprehension. Next, the auditory processing disorder, which they have difficulty hearing differences between sounds, reading comprehension, and language. And lastly, we have visual processing disorder, which include the difficulty of interpreting visual information, including math, maps, charts, symbols, and pictures. It is still yet known the cause of learning disabilities. Sometimes it is because a person's brain development is affected either before they are born, during their birth, or in early childhood. This can be caused by things such as the mother becoming ill in pregnancy, problems during the birth that stop enough oxygen getting into the brain, the unborn baby having some genes passed on from its parents that make having a learning disability more likely, illness such as meningitis or injury in early childhood. There are some health conditions where you may be more likely to have learning disability. For example, everyone with Down syndrome has some level of learning disability, and so do many people with cerebral palsy. Some people with epilepsy also have a learning disability, and so do many autistic people. Paying attention to normal developmental milestones for toddlers and preschoolers is very important. Early detection of developmental differences may be an early signal of learning disability, and problems that are spotted early can be easier to correct. So this is the sign and symptoms of the preschoolers, such as problems pronouncing words, trouble finding the right word, difficulty rhyming, trouble learning the alphabet, numbers, colors, shapes, or days of the week, difficulty following directions or learning routines, difficulty controlling crayons, pencils, and scissors or coloring within the lines, and trouble with buttons, zippers, snaps, or learning to tie the shoes. Next is the sign and symptoms of children from age 5 to 9, such as trouble learning the connection between letters and sounds, unable to blend sounds to make words, confuses basic words when reading, slow to learn new skills, consistently misspells words and make frequent errors, trouble learning basic math concepts, and difficulty telling time and remembering sequences. And lastly, the sign and symptoms from age 10 to 13, which they have difficulty with reading comprehension or math skills, trouble with open-ended test questions and word problems, dislike reading and writing, avoids reading aloud, poor handwriting, poor organizational skills, trouble following classroom discussions and expressing thoughts aloud, spells the same word differently in a single document. All children can be both exhilarating and exhausting, but it may seem that your child with learning disability is especially so. You may experience some frustration trying to work with your child, and it may seem like an uphill battle when you don't have the information you need. After you learn what their specific learning disability is and how it is affecting their behavior, you will be able to start addressing the challenges in school and at home. If you can, be sure to reach out to other parents who are addressing similar changes, as they can be great sources of knowledge and emotional support. That is all from me. Thank you.